Bhuvanesh, first of all, heartiest congratulations on clearing this exam. And
Okay.
I'm really happy that your efforts have been rewarded now. So I want to inform all the students that Bhuvanesh has cleared this exam with All India rank 41. He has achieved 145 marks in paper 1 and 148 marks in paper 2. So you can see the result, you can see the numbers. It itself speak the volume about the commitment and efforts he has put on the exam. So my heartiest wishes with you, Bhuvnesh. So first of all,
Thank
the
you.
very conventional question which everyone has asked you so far, how are you feeling now?
Uh, I think it is still sinking in, sir. I am still used to this feeling because, particularly for people who have been in this process for
Mhm.
quite a long time, you
Yes.
keep expecting the moment, and it just
Mhm.
keeps getting delayed and delayed for various reasons. And somehow it has happened, and
Uh-huh.
so it is still surreal. My family is extremely emotional, so it is still
Mhm.
sinking in.
Mhm. Yes, 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 yes. Definitely. So, Bhuvnesh, let us start with the session now. Okay, so I have collected some questions from the student, from our
Okay.
student, and from the students who have filled the Google form. So we
Okay.
will start from the basics, right?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so we first of all, I would like to know that what are the sources you have followed for
Hmm.
paper 1 and paper 2 respectively.
Okay.
I just noted down them also, so we can share them with the student also.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
M- I actually started my psychology preparation with a mentor in a different academy. So
Ah,
since he had suggested a source, he had an academic background in psychology. So he had suggested a book called Psychology Themes and Variations by Weiten.
okay.
Wayne. Wayne. Weiten is Weitan. It's a popular book, not so much in the UPSC circles, but it's a little bit popular in the academic circles. Those who actually
Okay.
do psychology, perhaps here, those who have done psychology, they may know it.
Okay.
So I stuck with the book. It is a very good book. It covers the basics pretty well. That
Mhm.
is my core source. Of course, my core source also includes the NCERTs. I'll come to that later.
Okay.
But to address the answer in a conventional sense, that is my core source.
Okay.
Apart from that, I also bought Psychology by Robert Barron and Girishwar Mishra.
Okay.
Barron's book, the people generally follow. I'll just show the book. But this book, Barron and Mishra, has an Indian perspective as well. I don't
Okay.
know if
Yes,
people
yes,
can
yes. It
see.
is visible. Yeah, we can
Yes,
see.
yes. So this book is
Mm.
another book which I followed, but again, not completely. I'll come to that later.
Okay.
So these two are the outside books apart from NCERT that I followed mainly for paper one.
Okay.
Paper two, again, like everybody else, I think Smart's Fine only I
Mm.
follow. I didn't follow majorly any other book. That is
Mm.
a good enough book.
Mm.
But to give a little twist to the question, my most important source is this guy, is the syllabus. I
Oh.
don't read anything else
Mhm.
without touching this guy. I think it's getting blurred.
Mhm.
So my three important source would be first the syllabus, second previous year question papers, and third toppers copies, toppers
Okay.
answer copies. So these three have to be common regardless of whatever other book you follow, whether it is
Okay.
Barron, whether it is Cicerelli, or
Mm.
whether it is Weineweiten. That doesn't matter, frankly, because these are all standard books and the
Okay.
content more or less is the same. Regardless
Okay.
of what book you choose, the content as per the syllabus won't be available. So,
Okay.
what should be your guiding light is the syllabus. So,
Mhm.
we have to ensure that each and every word of the syllabus is covered, and each and every sentence for that we have notes on it.
Okay.
So yeah, the sources part I would like to emphasize that syllabus,
Uh-huh.
previous year question papers, and toppers copies have been a valuable source for me, and
Okay.
that is a non-negotiable. Other parts it's fine. If
Mhm.
you follow other books also, it is fine.
Okay. Okay. So I've noted the books, the sources you have mentioned. Other
Hmm.
than this, Bhuvnesh, there is also one more question which comes into the mind of the student, that how to prepare for the research method part. So research
Right.
method, method of psychology, and measurement of individual influences, paper two.
Yes.
So what
Yes.
you have done for this particular question?
Again, I didn't rely on an external source heavily on that.
Mhm.
Partly because have a physics background, so I have a
Okay.
little bit of that research
Mhm.
tendency in me. So luckily
Okay.
for
Okay.
me, I didn't have to
Uh-huh.
rely much. But
Uh-huh.
again, it was tough for me as well. So in these standard sources, whatever basic material is there, the NCERT and Weighted, I
Mhm.
did follow that.
Mhm.
Apart from that, I relied on IGNOU material. So that
Okay.
was very good. IGNOU material, these chapters particularly, they have a very broad explanation for even research
Mhm.
methodologies that are not covered in standard books as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that, And again, like I said, I got ready-made materials from institutes which I was
Mhm.
part of earlier
Uh-huh.
also. So that
Okay.
mentor had given some material.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So that is pretty much enough, I think, because we are not expected to be experts in the research methodologies. We are
Uh-huh.
not trying
Yes.
to become researchers as well, no. So I think what is required is conceptual clarity in these
Okay.
chapters.
Okay.
So that is what I focused on. Every word, every keyword in the syllabus, I
Mm-hmm.
ensured that I had 200 word content
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the source.
Okay.
Like I said, since I had background, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
do so much research on research topics.
Okay.
So that also helped a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. So we know now what are the resources to be followed.
Yes.
Now, after reading all these resources, the second question is that how to include them, like whether we should make notes in the first reading, and if we are making notes, then what should be our strategy, and what is the strategy you have adopted? You made it online notes or offline notes. So, please give insight about this.
Okay. Regarding my notes, I would say you can take notes while you initially prepare for the examination as well, even in your first reading. But the
Okay.
notes won't be that organized. So broadly speaking, what I had is two kinds of notes. One is the long form notes.
Mm-hmm.
One is the short form notes. So my
Okay.
long form notes will be in offline mode.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started preparation, which is much earlier, around 5 to 6 years back,
Okay.
I had my notes when I attended classes and when I read core books as well. So that is
Okay.
my long form notes. It'll be a
Okay.
little unorganized, but I kept adding over the years, kept adding examples,
Okay.
kept adding pros and cons. That is
Mm-hmm.
my core content of the note. But
Okay.
the short form notes is the more refined, more condensed, more exam oriented form of notes,
Okay.
which I use
Okay.
for revision, which I use for mind maps. So
Mm-hmm.
that is for me in an online mode. I maintain that Evernote app. In that,
Okay.
for GS also I use for current affairs and everything, and for psychology short form notes also I heavily dependent on it.
Okay.
So these are the two kinds of notes I broadly took. The offline notes I took during preparation. That was when I started it out. But
Mm-hmm.
over the course of time, I relied more on my online notes, my
Okay.
short form notes, because after a point of time, it is just revision and test taking,
Mm-hmm.
no sir. So it becomes a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So I relied more on my short form notes for
Uh-huh.
revision and test taking. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So if it is possible, we can also like after the session, we will scan some of the short notes of you.
Sure, sure, sure,
So
sure.
it can
I
also help
I think
in.
I can share my screen also if it's possible. I'll just.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can I
You can
try to
share.
do that? Let's
Yeah,
just
yeah. You
try
can
to
share.
do that once.
Yeah, yeah. I just make you the co-host.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Now you can share your screen also. That would be good.
Okay, okay.
Ah,
Just one
yes.
second. Is it visible,
Yes,
my screen?
yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So, okay. I think it has logged out.
No
Okay,
problem.
anyways, I'll share it
Ah,
later. It's not an
Yeah,
issue
yeah, yeah.
because
Just
one
for a
second.
sample, you can like.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I'll share it with you, sir. You can share
So
it later.
just get
Not
in,
an
just
issue.
the student get an idea that how to
Yes,
make
yes.
notes. The
Yeah, yeah.
short notes which you're talking about. Okay, because
Yes,
like you can make the long notes in the first reading, but to make it
correct.
shorter in length, that is
Yes,
very important.
yes.
And that
That
is
is a crucial part. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that is required at the time of means also. Okay.
Correct,
Okay. So
correct.
wonderful.
I'll
We have
share it.
yeah, definitely. So we know the sources for paper and paper two. We know about the notes making also. Now the next thing is that when to start the answer writing process.
Hmm.
Okay, so like we are reading paper one, paper two. So we should do it simultaneously, or we should wait for at least one reading, paper one complete reading, paper two complete
Hmm.
reading. Then we should
Hmm.
start answer writing. So what was your approach, and what do you think should be the best approach regarding answer writing?
Okay. I actually started answer writing a little bit later, but what I would advise is we
Hmm.
need not wait for the entire paper to be completed. For
Okay.
example, if we suppose read a chapter for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
we would have understood the concept clearly
Mm-hmm.
and we would have made some notes out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, any question from the chapter, for example, we are covering memory, and
Okay.
just take a pretty standard question from memory. What is the standard model or Atkinson-Shiffrin model?
Okay.
Suppose something like that, one question we can take. Pros
Mm-hmm.
and cons of it, we can try to analyze and we can write. Because, as Sir rightly said, a lot of people have a good understanding over the subject, good knowledge base over the subject.
Mm-hmm.
What ultimately matters is whether you can present it in an
Yes. Yes.
examiner's point of view and
Yes.
whether
Correct.
you have the appropriate writing skills, because psychology is a very
Mm-hmm.
dynamic subject in that sense. You
Uh-huh.
cannot cut, copy, paste whatever is there in the book and expect
Mm-hmm.
marks. So that won't happen. So I
Mm-hmm.
think as and when we finish a chapter,
Mm-hmm.
just to test to what extent we have understood and just to test how to write actually what we have learned, I think writing couple of questions then and there is also a very good strategy.
Okay.
So yeah, answer writing practice as early as possible and preferably from previous year questions. You don't have to look for other sources.
Okay.
I think Psych Simplified, one good thing which I found with Sir is that they have a
Uh,
very good previous year question bank along
yes.
with solutions. That is the important part. Generally, the solutions won't be provided.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be used very well. Whoever students are there here, they can
Yes.
use that and they can try to get in the zone of answer writing.
Okay.
So as and when a chapter is over, they can
Mm-hmm.
attempt that. That will be good.
Okay. So you talk about PYQ also. So like again, it's a conventional question that how much years like PYQ we should follow? 5 years, 10 years, or we should go beyond that also? And how much you have followed for the PYQ?
Uh, yeah, since the examination pattern has changed from 2013, I think 10-year period would be a good amount of time to go
Right.
back for the
Okay.
PYQs.
Okay.
So yeah, and since anyways questions are more or less repeated, especially in optional, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to go beyond that. I think you can have a look if you
Uh,
want, just a
mhm.
general look at the previous year question bank, but
Okay.
10 years is
Correct.
a good amount of time. Yeah.
10 years is a good time. Okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
know. Okay. Now, Bhuvnesh, in your scorecard, we have seen that you have received some good marks in paper two specifically. Definitely, Smalak Sen is a good book, but it is not
Yes.
sufficient
Yes.
for the paper two. So,
Yes.
do you inculcate some current affairs also, or any other source you have followed specifically for paper two? Because for paper
Yes.
one, we have enough sources, we have enough books.
Correct.
Okay, but in paper two, there is lack of material, there is lack of
Yes.
books. So, what you have done differently to get such good marks in paper two?
Right. Even paper two for me also was the weakest
Ah,
link for my last mains as well. As I was sharing with sir earlier, my
yes,
marks
yes,
used to stay at the 260s
yes, yes, correct.
level. So
Hmm.
which is good, but it's not a very good or excellent marks to get the
Uh-huh.
rank that you're aiming for.
Definitely.
So Sparks fine, yes, it is
Mm-hmm.
neither necessary nor sufficient for paper
Mm-hmm.
two. We
Uh-huh.
have to add multiple angles and multiple examples. What I
Mm-hmm.
did was because Smaragdwine, especially the edition I have, it is
Mm-hmm.
a little outdated. So the
Okay.
examples and the case studies, they are
Mm-hmm.
pretty much outdated.
Okay.
I try to collect especially research studies, case
Okay.
studies, examples
Mm-hmm.
under each of the topics. So
Mm-hmm.
for
Okay.
example, suppose it is about let's just take, yeah, suppose under rehabilitation psychology chapter,
Okay.
there is multiple categories of communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Juvenile delinquents, criminal
Uh-huh.
behavior,
Yes, yes.
victims of violence.
Mm-hmm.
Smaragdwine typically gives two, three case studies and two,
Mm-hmm.
three agencies. So role of social agencies, they cover two, three agencies.
Yes.
Suppose we rely on that, and everybody relies on that, and
Mm-hmm.
the examiner is correcting all the papers. They
Mm-hmm.
pretty much look similar, right? What I try to ensure is I try
Okay.
to collect more recent examples. I try to Google, for example, if it is
Mm.
about juvenile delinquents, I
Uh-huh.
just Googled about prominent Indian agencies working with juvenile delinquents. I
Okay.
found two, three agencies which are perhaps working with the government a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a good possibility that the examiner will know the agency when you are
Okay.
coding because they are working with the government. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to do a lot of self-sourcing in paper
Yes.
two, especially.
Mm.
So that also you can divide into two parts. One is the static part, which I am
Uh-huh.
telling.
Mm.
Static part is you can map it easily to the syllabus. You
Mm-hmm.
actively search for it.
Mm-hmm.
Juvenile delinquents, criminal behavior, victims of violence. Which are the new agencies or new kind of schemes that you can add for
Okay.
each category of people? That is
Mm-hmm.
static part. The
Mm.
dynamic part is where you link the current affairs with it. I
Okay.
also, in my online form of notes, I had a separate section of current affairs
Okay.
under which I kept adding whatever I came across,
Mm-hmm.
and just not the newspaper. It is a general observation from life, right?
Mm.
For example,
Yes.
right now I happen to work in Trivandrum.
Mm.
So here in Thiruvananthapuram, there is a famous cafe run by the prisoners. It's called Prisoners Cafe. It's literally
Okay.
some 1 kilometer away from my quarters. So
Mm-hmm.
I also go there and have dinner and come back. But what intrigued me was that I was thinking, why not link this with the rehabilitation psychology chapter? Because it is a very famous prisoners
Mm-hmm.
restaurant. It has made headlines.
Mm-hmm.
It is run by prisoners. The food is cooked
Mm.
by the prisoners. There is a
Oh.
time limit to which they are there so that the prisoners go back to the prison in
Uh-huh.
time. It gives them a sense of purpose, right? You can connect it with many theories in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So like this, whatever I keep observing, I kept noting down, whether it is current affairs, whether it is from a
Uh-huh.
good book you read, whether it is a
Mm-hmm.
podcast, whether it is a real life experience. You
Mm-hmm.
should have a ready-made bank of examples and real life incidents, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can keep linking. with the answers in paper 2. And
Mm-hmm.
one more thing I would like to add, sir,
Uh-huh.
especially in paper 2 angle and paper 1 also to some extent,
Mm-hmm.
you have to don two hats whenever you answer a question. One hat is think like the examiner,
Okay.
because the examiner again is also a human being,
Mm-hmm.
and being a student of psychology, you should know how to play with their psychology.
Great.
So use
Yes.
halo effect. Use
Uh-huh.
a very good answer at the start. Play to your strengths, because
Mm-hmm.
when you give very good answers, especially at the start of the paper, they will have overall a good approach
Mm-hmm.
towards you, good impression towards you,
Mm-hmm.
and make it grab their attention. Basically, don't give monotonous answers, because again, if we stick to standard sources and try to
Mm-hmm.
cut copy paste whatever is in book,
Mm-hmm.
it won't work. How I saw psychology paper was,
Mm-hmm.
each of it is like a mini essay paper only.
Mm-hmm.
In actual essay paper we write two essays, right? Here it is
Yes.
almost
Yes.
everything is an essay for me. So I try to be as dynamic as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, one more thing I want to add is a code bank. Just like how I had a current affairs bank, I
Mm-hmm.
also had a code bank in my
Okay.
online notes. So
Okay.
when we read many books, not many books, whichever book you read, Baron or Weiten, whichever book,
Uh-huh.
there will be quotes mentioned when
Yes.
you
Yes.
read that
Mm-hmm.
this psychologist has said this.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, there's this very good quote that
Mm-hmm.
I think it was given by Piaget. It tells about the nature-nurture controversy. I'm unable to
Uh-huh.
recall the exact quote. I'm out of
Okay.
touch, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But
No.
whenever this nature-nurture controversy used to come, I used to start with the quote, telling that this has been said by John Piaget.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't give an exact conclusion. It basically tells that both are important.
Yes. Yes.
So this kind of things, they add the zinc to your answer. They add the masala to your answer, and that's how
Great.
you stand out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So continuing the previous point, I told we have to don the two hats when we write an answer. One
Mm-hmm.
hat is of course the hat of the examiner. Think like them. Suppose you are an examiner, when will you be impressed?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we should think, right? We will be impressed when there is a undoubtable clarity in your answer. There
Yes.
is clear cut examples given, clear cut incidents given, case studies given,
Mm-hmm.
flowcharts being used, psychologists being used. I mean, each of these points have their own importance. We can discuss each of them separately.
Uh-huh.
So that is important. The second hat I was talking about is think like a civil servant when you're answering the answer,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately we are all attending at this exam to become civil servants, right? And when you give answers and particularly examples in the point of an administrator, in the point of a government perspective, it will
Mm-hmm.
definitely impress.
Okay.
That is one tweak I did, especially in paper 2 this time,
Mm-hmm.
so that it gives an authenticity to the
Mm-hmm.
answer. But for that, you will have to again do a lot of self sourcing. You will have to
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of active Googling, keep reading
Yes.
about it, especially government sources like IGNOU and
Mm-hmm.
all. And they
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of YouTube channels also.
Mm-hmm.
IGNOU has their own YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So bring the governmental perspective. Like
Yes.
again, for example, whenever they ask about community mental health or community psychology, this
Mm-hmm.
decentralized model of mental health,
Mm-hmm.
I used to quote this Bellary model of mental health. Again,
Okay.
it's not there in any of our standard sources,
Mm-hmm.
but fortunately, I happened to read about it in some forum. I googled about it, and it is a government-driven model that has been successful in Karnataka, in Bellary district. So
Uh-huh.
it is nothing but again a decentralized model, but you have a fancy term for it, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
use it, these professors who have been probably working in a premier institute like NIMHANS or whatever, they'll
Yes.
get
Yes.
impressed, and
Mm-hmm.
you will be scoring the extra few marks that you deserve.
Yes.
So these two hats are definitely important, especially in paper two perspective.
Definitely. A great insight you have given about the paper too. I just a few days back also I interacted with Anupinder. So she
Okay.
also received 137 marks in
Hmm.
paper two.
Hmm. Hmm.
She also given the same point which you are talking about right now, that
Okay.
also follow the government resources,
Okay.
government sites, and we can quote them, specifically in
Yes.
paper two, because paper
Yes.
two like is a bit difficult if we compare it
Yes.
due
Yes.
to the
Yes.
limited sources it have. Only Smartphone is there, and
Correct.
so the sources, like, you have to work hard for paper two. You have to collect
Yes.
the knowledge.
Definitely. Definitely.
You have to link it. You have to link current
Yes.
affairs
Yes.
with the paper two, which is
Yes.
very much required. Okay, so
Yes.
definitely a great input given by you for the paper two specifically. Okay, so Bhunesh, as you just told that previously you were getting marks in the range of 250, 250 and
Hmm.
258,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
like it's a great jump. Now it's this year 293. So
Yes.
I just want to know that what is the role of test series you have followed to
Yes.
get such a good marks in psychology this year?
Right. Test series is obviously very important. I'm not particularly endorsing or against any test series. Any test series is good, but
Mm,
what you should judge the test series against some standard. The standard should be that whether the test series is catering to the demands of the examination. It
Yes.
should not be filled with too fancy questions, which will make you, little less confident.
Okay.
And the test series should be in line with previous year question papers. So
Okay.
obviously, if these kinds of test series help a lot, and Psych Simplified, as Sir told, this year I had taken test series here. It was very much helpful for me, particularly because this thing I found that it was more or less in line with the previous year question paper trend, and
Okay.
it tested the conceptual clarity part. The questions were pretty much simple in that sense. They were not complex, but to give the simplest answer is the toughest part, right? You will have to
Yes.
Einstein says, any fool can complicate things. So simplify things is the ultimate knowledge,
Yes.
ultimate test of knowledge.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think that's the standout factor of Cycle Simplified test series, and it helped a lot also. So I took all the tests regularly. Perhaps one or two tests I missed. I think I directly skipped to the full length test
Uh,
at the end.
yeah, one of
So
just but you were amongst the like most regular student this
yes,
year.
yes,
You are on
yes,
time
yes, yes,
always. You
yes,
complete all the test and on in time also you complete all the test and like your answers were also very very good. I
yes,
was very much confident about your result also this year. Okay,
yes,
so like I'm too very happy this year with your result
yes,
and with this
yes.
rank because in psychology we do not see like good ranks, but
Often,
from
yes,
last 2 or 3 years we are seeing good ranks also. And
yes, yes,
41
yes,
all India rank 41. Like
yes,
last year it was Manasvi, previous
yes,
year,
yes.
but in
Ah,
top 50
hmm.
see like
It has
from
been tough.
it was missing. So you
Yes.
feel happy this year.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. I've been fortunate and I'm
Uh,
grateful for your guidance also. So yeah,
yes.
test series is definitely important. That's how you get answer writing practice.
Mhm.
But even apart from test series, regardless of the test series you subscribe, I had a regular notebook of
Mm.
where I practiced my answer writing. I
Okay.
can show you the notebook also. This Okay, I don't know where it went. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's basically a notebook which is some 2 3 notebooks which I've filled
Mhm.
over, especially the
Mhm.
last 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So
Mhm.
basically, I'm trying to convey is that
Mhm.
maintain a separate answer writing notebook apart from GS. For
Uh-huh.
GS, of course, you have to do. For
Uh-huh.
optional also, you have to do answer writing practice, regardless of your level of revision, your level of
Okay.
comfort, because
Okay.
only then you will be in the zone. And
Mhm.
one more thing I would like to add here is
Mhm.
one modulation. I mean, one change this year I did. What
Uh-huh.
was that? I compared my answers with a lot of toppers answers copies.
Okay.
This
Okay.
definitely helped me
Mhm.
because as sir said, my I knew I was good. My content was good. I was pretty much
Mhm.
doing all the revisions,
Mhm.
but I was still stuck in that good zone, above average to good zone. I wanted to
Uh-huh.
go to that excellent
Yeah,
zone.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when I compared with the
Mhm.
toppers answers copies, I
Mhm.
realized that the presentation style is very important. So
Mhm.
you cannot take a standard model of presentation in each and every answer. It cannot
Mhm.
be like bullet points in each and every
Mhm.
answer, or
Yes.
it cannot be an
Mhm.
explorative or analytical answer in each and every
Mhm.
answer. So you
Mhm.
have to know how to present the answer. Suppose the answer is
Correct.
question is pretty much straightforward,
Mhm.
like theories of problem solving or
Mhm.
applications of problem solving. It is a
Mhm.
bullet point approach. Tuck, 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 tuck. You just have to enlist it.
Uh-huh.
Don't think much about it. But
Okay.
there are questions where you can stand apart, especially
Mhm.
in paper two.
Mhm.
There will be an Indian angle to it. There will be an analytical angle to it. There will be an interlinking angle to it. Personality should be connected with sociology. Should be connected
Mhm.
with. So
Mhm.
these kind of questions will test your thinking.
Yes.
So especially that kind of questions, we have to practice more, and
Okay.
that kind of questions is where we can score a lot.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Definitely.
that
Yes.
that way test series is important.
Yes, yes, perfect. Okay, okay. So Bhuvnesh, these questions I've collected with the students, and you have delivered them very beautifully. I think many doubts of the students have cleared so far.